Well, guys, this might be the last episode of Watch Me Go Broke. Hey. That is not the reaction that I was expecting. Let's try that again. Well, guys, this might be the last episode of Watch Me Go Broke. Why, you ask? Well, today's watch on paper is the perfect watch, at least for my tastes, and my watch search might be over and I might not need to do any more videos after this one. I know, it's sad really. The Lorier Neptune Gen 3 looks amazing and I can't wait to take a look at it. So let's awkwardly bend over a table and take a look. All right, on my wrist today is going to be the Lorier Hydra for reasons I will explain later in this review. And here is today's watch. This is the Lorier Neptune Generation 3. There's been two other incarnations of this particular version of this watch from Lorier. You've got a 38.5mm case, a lug-to-lug of 47 millimeters, 12.7 millimeters thick to a domed acrylic crystal today, not sapphire. It is acrylic, 20 mil lug widths tapering down to 16 millimeters at the clasp. The dial is a glossy black dial with indices that are printed and filled with BGW9 Lume. Hands are, I would call them Seamaster style-ish arrow hands, an arrow for the hour hand and a arrow for the second hand. The crown action is actually really outstanding. It screws in quite a ways. Unscrewing to here, there is a discernible pop. The first position, and there is only two positions with this particular movement today. This is the Miyota 90S5 movement. So the first position is the winding position. For it being a high beat movement, which it's 28,800 vibrations per hour, it's a little bit gritty winding, typical of a Miyota. It's not bad or anything, but this being basically considered a higher end movement, it is a high beat movement, beating at 28,800 vibrations per hour. Only two positions, as I said, so the winding position, and then you have the setting position. It does hack as well. Moving the hands, very smooth. I'm going to put it to 10-10 here. I never do that for watch reviews, so you miss a lot of the dial because I just don't even do that. But pushing it back in, very discernible click, very nice, very smooth. It does feel a much higher quality than the Seiko NH35A movement. Screwing the crown back in is really a dream. I love this extended crown tube that Lorier has. Little tip, I always go backwards till it engages the thread, like heard a little pop there, and then I screw it in. That is how you're going to avoid cross-threading, which I did on my Omega Seamaster 300M, and I'm not super happy about it. 120 click unidirectional bezel today. I've read and seen some other reviews of this watch where the reviewers said that this bezel was difficult to grip. Not the case. I'm using gloves and it's still incredibly easy to grip, and it is very dead on alignment, which I really like. Another thing I'm going to show you with this thing, I don't know if I can do it with gloves, is for some reason this particular bezel action, you can just go really fast and stop instantly without any backplay or anything. So I'm going to try to line it up with the hour's hand real fast here. I'll probably fail this miserably, but you know, where you can go really fast and just get it done. So, well, I mean, you know, yeah, I did it, but that wasn't really that impressive at all, was it? Case back, a little bit different than your standard Lorier case back. It does have the Lorier logo going all the way 360 degrees around it. It is a screw down case back, pretty plain, and that's okay with me. The bracelet and case are all 316L stainless steel. I love this bracelet. It is articulated. It is 3-link, and each link is independent from the others. So you get really great articulation here, if you can see, but that's typical for Lorier. It's the same bracelet that they've used on, I believe, all of their watches so far. The clasp is a wonderfully milled clasp, pretty solid. This is an upgrade. I guess you could call it an upgrade from the previous clasp because they've added a third micro adjustment hole that hasn't been on there on the previous versions. And I believe what they did is just kind of, fit in another hole. They didn't create another clasp. It would not appear. They just had a little bit of extra room there and added a third micro adjustment hole. And that's fine with me. So the improvements from Generation 2 to Generation 3 of this particular watch is it is much thinner, and I think that's due to the Miyota 90S5 movement being thinner. They could thin out the case, and they also get a higher beat movement. So I think that was a good move here, and I will show you compared to the Hydra. So this is the Hydra on the left and the Neptune on the right. You can see that the Hydra is a good bit thicker. The actual case is thicker and the domed acrylic crystal is thicker. So they've slimmed out those two things and shrunk the case size down. The Hydra is 39 millimeters and the Neptune is going to be 38.5, and that half millimeter does make a huge difference in the way the watch wears. So let us check out this BGW9 Lume. Oh, there you go. It faded in nicely there. Yep. BGW9, it's pretty good. I mean, I would say it's one of the better loomed watches in my collection. It's obviously not as good as the San Martin. That's pretty much the #1 there. It does fade fairly fast, but it does get the job done. So what do I like about this watch, and why did I get this particular version of the Lorier? I originally said in another video, my late night special, that I wanted a Lorier Neptune Generation 1 because I thought that watch was really cool. But once I started looking at this Generation 3, I felt that it had a little bit more to offer me as far as the high beat movement, a little slimmer case style without, really detracting from the great things that everybody loves about the Neptune. The most popular version is going to be the gold gilt-handed version of this watch, which is very nice. It's very attractive looking, but I decided to go with silver hands and pretty much just all black because I wanted this watch to just go with everything. Not that the gold gilt hands don't, but I really felt like just don't make a mistake, black on black. I felt like I might have made a slight mistake with getting this Lorier Hydra. I love this particular watch, but as I said in my review of this, I definitely would have gone with black. This is very loud royal blue, so as far as strap comparisons and having the gilt hands, you can't put a lot of straps on this and it looks good. You're pretty much stuck on the bracelet or some very muted colors that you can do with the Hydra. So if I had a do-over, I would have got the black of that, but I guess they've changed the look of the Hydra for the newest generations, and this is apparently, I guess, discontinued. The new one looks like a super compressor style, which I don't know. I'm sure it's a good watch. I mean, they make great watches, but as far as my taste, I kind of like the original way they did the Hydra. So as I said, this watch works pretty much with any strap I've put on it, and Lorier even says you could put leather on it. Yeah, I mean, here I've got it on an Omega NATO, the red and black striped. It looks absolutely fantastic. And then I've also got it on the Connery-inspired strap for MorrisStraps.com. If you haven't checked out MorrisStraps.com, they are absolutely outstanding straps for the money. Really pretty close to the Omega straps, but at, a tenth of the price. So definitely pick one of those up. I like the dome acrylic crystal, and for a few reasons, and I know there's a lot of gripes out there that this watch doesn't have sapphire, and I get that for the scratching, and yes, you can scratch the dome acrylic crystal, but it just looks amazing with the distortions. I'm going to throw up a picture I took while I was out driving. As you can see, the crystal, it just looks amazing when you're looking at it from that angle. I really love the distortions, and I also love something that I've been kind of annoyed more and more lately with ceramic bezels and sapphire glass is that fingerprints. I mean, it shows fingerprints all the time. on ceramic bezel and the sapphire crystal, and this just doesn't. I can touch it. I can touch the aluminum. I can touch this. It really doesn't show any discernible fingerprint, so I'm not constantly wiping it throughout the day, which really with acrylic you probably really shouldn't, because you can get some dust right on the top of it and then go wipe it, and then you got these little finite scratches all on it. But not a big deal, as everybody's on board with polywatch. I think you can polywatch this out. And if you're worried about this crystal long term, I'm going to throw up a little video here of my my God, I've forgotten the name of the watch. It's my Fortis Marine Master from the late 1960s and early 1970s, and that's, you know, a 50-year-old, 55-year-old watch. And the acrylic, yes, there's scratches and yes, there's little dings taken out of it, but it's still very legible and it looks cool. So over time, I think, you know, this watch is gonna, you know, beat up nicely, and it's just gonna look more vintage than you can even imagine right now. I can't even imagine, because these are so new. And changing straps, you have drilled lug holes, and it makes it incredibly easy to do that. I mean, this pretty much has everything that I like about the watch. I'm a huge Omega fan, and I'm a huge fan of the Omega Seamaster 300. The 300M, yes, but also the 300. The original one that came out in the 50s had a bezel that was very similar to the one that Lorier is using, and that is just my absolute favorite bezel, minus that little top part on there. But it is my favorite bezel, and they have done a wonderful job recreating that here. I think it looks fantastic. Doesn't really look as good on the re-release that Omega did of the 300, but still outstanding bezel. This is the style that I like, the look that I like, the font that I like. It just looks fantastic. I like the simplicity of the dial with the Lorier logo just below the 12 o'clock, and then just above the 6 o'clock, the 200M equals 660 feet. Very simple. I do like a lot of writing on my dials, but this, I think, just keeps that vintage vibe, and the minimal text really, really works here. The Lume is also applied very thick to each of the indices, and I don't know if they went over it with a white coating. I have a feeling they did, or did a mixture to make it white, because I believe BGW9 is more of an off-white color, or like a patina-ish looking color. And I think that probably will account for the lack of the brightness in the Lume. It's still very bright, but not the original BGW9, or else they didn't apply it as thick, but it does look as though they did. So there's a lot more Omega in this watch than Rolex, I would say. I think you're going to borrow some styling cues from Omega with the hands, with the case size, obviously the bezel. And the bracelet reminds me of the old style Speedmaster bracelets, which are really cool looking from back in the day. It reminds me of that. I don't know if that's where they're going for, but it certainly brings that vibe. The general consensus is this dial looks like a Tudor Submariner dial, and I get that. Yeah, it does. It certainly does. But there's nothing in this watch that screams a copy or screams an homage. With all of those elements coming together, it just seems like its own original watch, its own original design. It has its own character, and it just is wonderful. It's wonderful to wear on the wrist. So what do I not like about this watch? Well, there is one thing that I do not like about this watch. I know, I've been heaping its praises, but yes, there is one thing, and I do not have my spring bar tool to where I can show you. These end links, while they are solid, they do separate from the bracelet. So once you take the spring bar out, this end link is just loose by itself, flying around. So you got two of them. That I don't like, because if you lose one of these, God help you, I don't know what you can do. I don't know if you can order another one from Lorier, but that's concerning, especially if you're traveling, you want to change straps. Of course, they give you this really cool leather travel watch roll here, which is great. So you can put them in there, yeah, but there's always a chance of a misplacement if you leave your bracelets lying around, something like that. So that I don't like, but I understand why they did that, to give you the female end link so the watch will conform to the wrist and lay flat. So totally get it. Don't know what they can do in order to remedy that without changing that end link design, which I think everybody knows and loves so much. So all in all, guys, this watch is just fantastic. I think the price, they've gone up a little bit. They went up about $100 from my recollection. I think they started at $399 and they're now $499. I hope that doesn't continue. I think they're right at the edge of the price point with this. But, you know, if they keep upgrading and they keep putting in better movements and things like that, certainly they can charge more money for it. But I think this is right at the proper price point for this watch. And could it be your everyday watch, as Lorier claims? Yes, it can. I absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. I would love to wear this every day. I have been wearing it every day since I received it, and it's just wonderful. So that's all I got today, guys. I will see you next week.